Hello everyone, and welcome back to Micro Gaming. Today I thought we'd do a little bit of a tutorial today, something I haven't done in quite some time. And I figured we'd do a 2D controller. And as you can see, he can move around and we can rotate him. So this can be used in something like maybe a top-down, well, specifically a top-down bullet hell game. Or you can change the controls to fit whatever you want. So let's get started. And to start our game off, I'm going to go over here in the hierarchy, create an empty. We're going to give it a little bit of a dot so we can actually see it and zero it out. And then over here in the inspector, we're going to make a new script so we can move them around. So go to the inspector, add component, new script, and we're just going to call it character. Well, character move. Enter, there we go. And we should see him pop up eventually. There we go. So now that we have our character script ready to code, we need to actually put in our sprite so we can actually see the guy. So I have something that's just kind of prepared. You can use whatever you want. You can even use a primitive, but I'm just going to move this guy right in here. I'm going to move my camera so I can see that point and position my little wizard man here someplace nice. And then we can zero you back out. Perfect. And since he's a little bit chubby, I'm going to shrink him, which means I'm also going to have to move him back. Now that we have our character all set up, let's go ahead and start coding. So let's open it up. I have mine in Visual Studios, but you can use whatever you want. So the first variable we're going to need to declare is the speed. And since I would like to edit it on the fly, I'm going to use a public float, name it speed, and we're going to give it a value 5. So we have essentially initialized it right at the top. We've declared it and initialized it. And I don't believe I'm going to need to start, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Alright, so let's move over to the update function, and this is where all the magic will happen. Now that we have our speed, we need to declare two separate inputs, one for right and left and one for up and down. Luckily for us, they're kind of built in already. So we're going to declare float, call it input y, and that will equal input.getAxis, and we will be accessing the vertical axis. This will be our W and S. Oops, and I misspelled. I think I did anyway. Double check myself, and it's because of this. That's better. No brackets. We're good. Okay, now that we've declared our input and where they're coming from, now we can work on moving our character. So, to move our character, we need to think in terms of vectors. We're just going to make it vector2, movement, we'll call it movement, equals new vector2, and we will take in some parameters. We will take in speed and multiply that by input y, comma, speed multiplied by, once again, input.y. This is our x and our y value. Next, we need to make sure that this always moves at a constant speed. This way it doesn't take into considerations how fast your computer or how slow your computer is. We want a constant speed. So we'll take movement and we'll see times equals time dot delta time. Next we need to actually move the character, and for that we will use this method right here, transform.translate. There we go, transform.translate movement. And for this method we access the transform of our game object and we essentially move it with a translate. How much? By our movement, which we've calculated up here. And that should be good for just the moving part. Let's give it a try. Hitting W. Well, that is an interesting bug. Look at that. That is weird. Let's go back. Oh, that's right. Let's just make that a 0. I am so silly. Can't believe I did that. So the reason we were getting that one, why we were getting a diagonal response, the X. We only need to calculate the Y. My bad. And then everything else works is fine. Okay, so that's great. No, we can move up and down, but we want to be moving in all directions. So save that, move out here, go to your game object, and let's make a new script. Go over here to new. We'll call it face direction. Fantastic. There you go. Open it up, and whatever you'll be using, get rid of start. I do not believe we will need that. Okay, so next we need to detect where the mouse is, so we're going to use a vector3. We'll call it mouse pos, or mouse position if you want, equals input dot mouse position. And mouse position itself is a built-in function. So our mouse pos, our mouse position, needs to equal the camera, I believe. Let's see, camera dot main dot screen to view, I believe. Screen to world position, my bad. Screen to world point. And we'll be taking in mouse position, or mouse pos. Alrighty, move it down. And now we need to figure out the actual direction. So we go vector 2, 2, direction equals new vector 2. I like to space it out myself. So we'll be taking the mouse position, or mouse pos dot x, there you go, minus transform dot position, dot x, comma, mouse pos dot y minus transform dot position dot y, semicolon. Complete that out. Very good. And lastly, transform dot up equals direction. And that should be it. Let's give it a test. Look at it. Beautiful. And he can now move front, back, and all that goodness. Now, just because I am curious, I would like to change that to 2D. See if that will work. Okay, so using 2D works as well, which makes sense. And there you go. Just the basic bare minimum 2D controller for something like a bullet hell game or something. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was rather fun to make. And if you liked the video, just give me a thumbs up. If you disliked it, thumbs down. Whatever, you know the deal. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Over now.